side of the board. In the boardroom is remotely the Commissioner Simon Sanchez. We are waiting Commissioner Chow to join our meeting. But we're going to start at 4:30 and we're going to start. Miguel Bordallo, our General Manager for GWA, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just point out that I'm here in the boardroom. Our first resolution.
Oh, okay, I didn't see him. Okay.
Our first resolution is Resolution 36, and we are seeking the board's approval to authorize an additional task order for the delivery indefinite quantity project and construction management services contract for Caldwell. This task order is specifically to assist delivery management with the negotiation, specifically with the support services for technical discussions with USDA on wastewater hydraulic and capacity evaluation for the wastewater. So, the total cost for this is $325,000 and seeking the usual contingency of $32,000 for a total amount of $358,000. Authorized amount indefinite contract includes 160 not yet assigned to order. So out of the 358,000 we need, we can deduct. So we're seeking 190. Million.
Okay.
Source for this the GWA.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions?
Motion. Oh, no,
Commissioners.
no. Sorry.
No, Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Questions? Commissioner Santos, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez, do you have any questions?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. You can move to the next resolution. Mr. Bordallo.
Moving on, resolution is 39F, and this is relative to construction management contract for 2A and out number 2 tank and system upgrades court order project. So recall we did on the construction, we initially undertook construction of the reservoirs at Tumon number 2 and Hyundai in Barragata, and then we had the bid included additive bid items for the out number 2 tank. There was also some off-site additional system improvement. So the initial contract only included tank. Subsequent to that, issued a change order to the contractor to include the child number 2 tank, the Hyundai pump station, and then various pressure reducing valve stations and some SCADA upgrades at various locations. So for the construction management, we never issued a corresponding change order to increase their scope of services. In addition to that, the construction contract, because of various run into delays, we have delays in permitting, so delays from COVID-19 that have resulted in the lengthening of the. And there were a couple of issues associated with the Tumon number 2 tank, specifically the off-site work, which required to tie into the existing piping for that tank was never properly worked. The location of the piping we needed to tie into was not accurately represented in the as-built plans that GWA had on file, and that caused us to take additional exploration within the Marine Corps Drive corridor in order to the pipe controlled when we are able to do that, the lane closures associated with that work carefully in order to the completion of the work. So these various delays, there are some additional time we've had to allow for the construction management to firm to be extended. So this change order that we're asking for will add to the construction management the amount necessary for the child number 2, the additional annex station work, site improvements, PRB associated with this construction work, and then also the account for the delays, which would take the construction out to February of 1. So the original CM contract was 1.954 million. That was just for the 2 for the outside. The change order, in order to cover the additional work, another 1.2 million. Currently, we have 195 million in contingency funding that's available, and so our request would be for 0.6 million in additional authorization, with total funding 3.0 million under this CM contract. As I mentioned, the construction is anticipated to be completed in February. We are funding for project. Mind you, this is one of the contracts that is a corridor contract. Just recently received additional other than tank project.
Okay, commissioners, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Chalco.
Thank you. Miguel, is it common for us to request that the construction management firm reduce their staffing?
It is common, but we have done it if we, in this case, we asked them to adjust the staffing at the project because we knew we were. So there was sufficient coverage for the CM services, but we were able to squeeze an additional 6 months.
So the construction management had a certain staffing pattern that you got that GWA had the ability to adjust or request for adjustment. Wow, seems weird. Seems like if they had that much staff, it seems like they might have been overstaffed if they were able to.
I think we were making the project managers spending some time in the system in order to make sure we have proper coverage.
So GWA burdened some of that workload so that they free up the other staff to do other things. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's my only question.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Are there any other questions?
Not on this side, Mr. Chair. None of the other commissioners.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez, do you have any questions?
No, but this is the one we were talking about, this section.
correctly. So I'm glad to see, Miguel is using the bond money, borrowing all these years. It's a little bit left over, and this is really related. This is a project we've been wanting to do for a long time. We're able to use that money. Okay.
The CIP line item is 709 is the reservoir. We first CIP line item, but the thing for that line item has different sources. There is no 2.5 money going in.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying. Thanks for clarifying, Miguel. Appreciate it. Good. Okay. If there are no other questions, let's move on to the next resolution. Cordelia?
Their next resolution is 40 this approving an increase for the zone realignment construction project. The additional work that we are seeking to get authorized under this project for additive site for the Terao PRV in Manila and the Maymay PRV in the original contract included bridges of Vigo, Derrida, and Manila. Because of recent issues in our distribution system, we did have these additive bid items for these sites. We'd like to move them up in terms of the construction schedule. So we are seeking approval for the contractor's cost estimate for those $962,000. There is about $412,000 available in the current authorization. So we're requesting additional $550,000 in order which would bring the total authorized funding amount to $5.4 million. Two additional are a year notice, give them a notice to proceed, and the for the term is combination of fund and USDA.
Okay, are there any questions, commissioners?
I have a few.
Oh,
So the pressure zone realignment was initiated with a study and the intent is twofold. Our levels of service include a range of pressures, like acceptable pressure, define where we provide customers. The actual conditions in the distribution system areas, the pressures are below the acceptable areas and above the acceptable. So the pressure zone realignment plan is intended to be and valve within the distribution system, service areas, the correct provide ranges. If it makes the area that has low pressure, we want to move it to a pressure zone. We have to modify the type by the valve. So, improvement in the level of service to our customers, but by controlling the pressures and keeping them within that, also eliminate the occurrence which leads to high water loss. Think about the piping network being a series of straws that are connected together. At every connection, there is a possibility for leak. The higher the pressure, the higher the likelihood of a leak. If you control pressures, it reduces the leak. Water loss.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Miguel, of the three funding sources, you identified one as being the US EPA grant. What percentage of that grant will account for the increase, roughly?
We funded the grant.
Yeah. Okay. So in addition to the 550, you still want to replenish the contingency fund of 467,000.
To keep the contingent, to minimize it, I was a little worried about not having any in there.
So it's not for the full original contingency of roughly 900,000. It's just for 467. Okay.
It ends up being a little as opposed to the full.
10%. Okay. No other questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Other question? Go ahead. Mr. Duffy?
There are no other, Mr. Chair.
Yes, if there are no other questions, move on to the next resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next resolution is 21F 2020. This is relative to approval of the Northern Guam Lands Aquifer monitoring wells. Recall, we received OEA funding for several projects, including sewer infrastructure in Northern District waste, and the expansion of the Northern Guam Lands Aquifer monitoring system. So this project involves the installation of 7 new monitoring wells and the refurbishment of 2 existing monitoring wells, all of which will be located on DOD property. The new monitoring wells located in subbasins of the aquifer, for which Weary University of very little data. So they were, Weary and USGS were very actively involved in the study and location of these 7 new wells. With their installation, it will give Weary and USGS the ability to monitor the in those subbasins in order to ensure that we do not adversely the aquifer by the additional pumping that is anticipated to be prior to military buildup on Guam, which is the reason why this is a DOD funded. The cost of this contract is $3.489 million. It's a construction of 174 million for a total. Sorry, 174 for a total of $3.663 million. There was only one. You know, we do have a grant line to complete all of these to be open in the Marine Corps case, and schedule such that we moving forward. As I mentioned, the funding source with the OEA in
Okay. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have one question. Miguel, can you explain what the intergrant transfer
Yes,
is?
Commissioner.
What,
Go
what,
ahead.
is it just like one master grant and they can allocate it towards different projects? Just referring to the funding source and the reference to intergrant transfer. What is that?
oh, so the that were issued cover covered design, and the initiation of the design for Northern District program management and diffuser under one,
Mm-hmm.
and then grant the sewer intersection and separate the wells. And then a separate grant for construction of the Northern District wastewater treatment plant upgrades was actually spread across 2 different fiscal years. So there were multiple grants issued.
I see.
And so funding source for the expansion will be from the OEA grant funds that are existing for the NGLA Wells project, but there is a shortfall, and so in that particular grant, we have
That's another grant.
excess in another grant, so we're going to transfer from the Northern District grant. And once the OEA approves that, then we'll have funding to authorize the project.
Okay.
So that's just shifting money, all OEA money. So if you recall, we weren't sure about Northern District, how much the construction project would cost. We also knew that when we put out the user bid, the amount of grant funds allocated really was only $3 million. We put it out for bid 3 times, with only one bidder, and it was 3 times the available grant
Estimated.
amount. So we had some contingencies in the bond funds we borrowed so that we could work with the user.
Mm-hmm.
So that bond funds, we have funds allocated in that CIP line item to cover costs for Northern, but we don't have a similar one. So transfer back the funds for the district,
The bond
the
funding.
bond
for
funds
the
to make. We tried, initially there was some discussion about not, if we didn't, 7 wells funding ran to see if it would do it for funds or not.
Mm-hmm.
Do it 6 and 7 wells. Unfortunately, management discussed query and US, and because the offer for these wells, there is no data because there's no wells there. They felt it was especially critical to follow the new wells.
Mm-hmm.
The bond funds that we have. But we're still managing Northern District try and see cost savings. So the original 122 million through our negotiations and scope provisions, we've eliminated, we've reduced that 2 million already.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still looking at that we can reduce costs on Northern District to try and sort of minimize.
Okay. Typically takes a few months to get the grant transfers approved, but we've already coordinated with VA, and so they know it's coming down the road. But they've supported. We don't anticipate taking any time. Not because if you recall, we came in under budget on the intercept, and so we transferred to the. And Miguel, what was the estimated cost for these 7 wells? Was this within budget or over budget? Because you had 9 interested parties, but only 1 bid.
Yeah, only one. So the entire project involves new wells and we had initially that way,
Mm-hmm.
but because 2 of the rehab on DOD property new wells are on property, repack, because it's better to have one contractor that has to go through all the trouble of getting base access rather than. So, all of the entire package, original budget, $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we're discussing is just one part of that. The other part is. But in putting them, the two of them together, it exceeded.
When you include the construction management.
When we include.
Oh, and the rehabilitation.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. Commissioner Sanchez, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. No, I just wanted to comment that these projects are really critical, and I'm really glad to see that finally tying them all together. For many, many years, we have worried about expansion in the north, civilian and military. Of course, now the Marine base have lost. And we never had a chance to better monitor the aquifer up there. And the earlier aquifer studies mentioned the hotspots for the aquifer tend to be more on the military side of the aquifer. But now it's a collaborative effort. We've got the feds paying for this. This is DOD, US EPA money. We all agree with Weary and the group that's studying the aquifer all these years that we needed to get this capability in place. It's been a long time goal, and to see all the parties kind of come together and then the feds fund it. I think it's a good thing because it's gonna allow all of us to learn about the aquifer because we all need to talk to the feds step fund. But I think it's sort of their implied responsibility because they put pressure on that aquifer with their expansion as we are as well. And now we're working together to make sure we can better study the aquifer, and the federal government's picking up the tab. I think that works really well for our ratepayers and the long-term benefit of protecting that aquifer, because without that aquifer, we're all.
Okay, I agree. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, let's move on to the next resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last resolution that we have today, 4220, and this is seeking approval of the rehabilitation portion of the Northern Guam Lens Aquifer project. So the 10 of the existing monitoring wells need to be rehabilitated that are DOT are located in various areas on the north side of part of the island. The project was put out for bid, and we had two bidders. One of them was not deemed responsible because he lacked the appropriate EPA license for this type of work, and so his bid was rejected. And the remaining bidder came in $960,000, seeking approval of that amount with 1% contingency of $48,000 for a total of $1.013 million for the rehabilitation project. This project needs to be completed no later than August 31st in order for us to meet the grant deadline, August 31st, 2021. And the funding source for this would just be existing OEA grant. So relative to Commissioner Limtiaco's question previously, I had intended to go over this one. This is the smaller amount.
Yeah.
So there's sufficient amount in the existing funding for this. Then the balance that's left over after we award this one will be combined with the grant transfer that we give approval for the contract and resolution.
Okay, are there any questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So Pro Pacific did not build on the new construction
Are there any
of the wells?
questions?
The new wells?
Commissioner Limtiaco's question is in regard to the two contractors. Pro Pacific built builders submitted a bid for this, but they were the contractor. Did not have
Right. I was referring to the new wells. They didn't submit a bid for the new wells.
because they don't have. They didn't submit a bid, and even if they did,
They would have been
qualified because they-
non-responsive.
the same licenses.
So this bid was let before the new well construction bid came out?
They were within a so it's on the rehab. Might also point out that part and parcel of this, once we get the new wells built, and then we have these existing wells refurbished, they need to be refurbished because there's not been a commitment to regular maintenance where he uses them, but he doesn't own the wells. And in large part, these wells are located on guam property or DOD property. So under the One Guam partnership and our discussions with the Navy, we've come to a sort of a gentleman's agreement as to the maintenance responsibilities once we sink all this CIP money into getting these wells built and safe. What happens afterwards? So GWA is willing to commit to maintaining the base, to maintaining the on base. We have an obligation with the grant that we receive to make sure that the investment from the grant is sustainable, and the only way we can do that is doing maintenance. Our own wells anyway, and it's appropriate for us to maintain it because we benefit the data that is produced from these wells to help the aquifer research. So we're very one well.
Are there any other questions?
No questions from me, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any commissioners who have other questions? If there are no other questions, we're done with the resolutions for decision for the upcoming meeting. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No GM report? No GM.
I'm gonna go over the manual.
All those in favor?
I'm gonna go over the manual report.
Board Peak or one? I can't remember. Board Chief,
We'll
Department of Public
do
Health.
that at Tuesday meeting.
Correct.
Thank you, colleagues.
We'll do that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay.
Already.
Case of
Meeting adjourned.
Do notice.
Okay.
Thank you.